Man, my soaping adventures have led me to some unusual places. That's for sure. I want to talk about a subject called microcalibration. So you guys know what calibrate means. To calibrate something, it basically means you're finely tuning it, tweaking and peaking, you know? Making something that's already pretty good even better. For me, when I do a trick, for example, when I'm in a royale stance, you know, a lot of people, they don't know what to do with their hands. Sometimes their hands are out like this, and they look retarded, like they're spastic. Now you're still doing a royale, but you guys that are like, you know, you guys that don't have control of the other parts of your body, you're losing points. We see you. You know, you jump on and you think you royaled it, but your hands are all over the place. It doesn't mean that you're a bad soaper or a bad athlete. It just means that you might not be aware of particular things. A long time ago, after a video shoot, I would go home and then I'd watch the video. I put the video in slow motion, I'd sync it up to music, and then I'd just watch my stance. And then I'd want to start kind of tweaking and peaking my behaviors of the body language that I was exuding. For example, one time, you know, I jumped on unity grind, cross-legged grind, Indian style grind, and my hands were like kind of weird. Now I got mad props. There was a little 10-step unity, you know, and it was dope. It was a lot further advanced of a trick than other people were doing at the time. So I got mad respect on the streets, but I wasn't satisfied with it myself. See, I look at it and I go, no, I want it to be smooth. I want to do it effortlessly. Anyway, I'd get out there in the streets and I'd start grinding. And as I would do my royales or my unities, I'd start like just consciously putting my hands the way that I wanted them. I wanted it to look cool. I didn't want it to be out of control. I wanted it to be just flawless. It's like one of those athletic success principles. You never want to let them see you sweat. When you bust out a move, even though that trick might have taken you years to perfect, the difficulty rating may be fucking out of 1 to 10, it might be an 11. But you don't want to let your audience know that. Some of the tricks that I did scared the shit out of me. I could probably file for disability on some PTSD type shit, because sometimes I still wake up having nightmares from some of the tricks that I tried. I unitied this one rail that had a 2-story drop on the other side. Can you imagine if I missed my front foot? I would have died. Literally. There would be no coming back from a fall like that. That would be as if I swan dived head first out of a 2-story window. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I just wake up in like a cold sweat remembering that, and I have these, it's almost like a negative image in my head of me missing that step and falling. What if? And I know it didn't happen, but it still scares the shit out of me. Anyway, when I'm on the streets and I'm doing a trick, you know, even when I start just stalling, when I'm jumping up practicing the stall on a new trick, the first thing I'm starting to think about is, how am I going to put my hands? How am I going to balance myself? What is the weight distribution going to be in percentage? You know, like a front stance, front side, obviously is going to be 50-50. A unity is 50-50, but a backslide, all my weight's on my other foot, my backsliding foot. Therefore, the weight distribution is 100 and 0. On a Royale, you know, what do you think that is? Most of the weight's here. I don't know, 70-30 maybe? A little bit's on my front. Some people maybe more like 60-40 if they're leaning forward, you know. For me, it kind of depends really on the steepness of the rail. You know, if I jump on Royale on a really steep rail, I might want to be a lot on my back foot, and I'm really going to be dependent on the groove and the rubber. And my front foot is almost just like a guide. Boom, like basically just using that as, I'm putting a little bit of weight on that and going down, and I'm really concentrating on the way that my hands are, where I'm looking, depending on the angle of the camera. If the camera's in front of me, I want to be very squared. You know, if the camera was behind me, I can go ahead and cheat it a little bit. I can lean forward and you won't notice the difference. Most importantly, if there's a hot girl who's watching us in the session, I want to make sure that my chest is really squared off to her. You know, I want to expose my neck. I want to show no fear. If I see a hot girl I want to jump on, and I want it to be perfect. When it comes to shit like that, you have one chance to get that girl's attention. At the end of the day, that's all we're doing as men. You are a sexual being. You're courting. You know, you're either demonstrating to a woman watching your session that you are either the man or not. You got one shot at that. Anyway, I really focus on calibrating my micro behaviors and everything that I'm doing when I'm grinding, so that the trick appears flawless. I want it to look like it's easy. Even though what I'm doing is I'm grinding, it's fucking dangerous. I've broken my ankle, I broke my cheekbone, I fractured 20 teeth, I dislocated my ring finger, I broke my thumb, and I put 2 giant holes in my chin that required stitches on either side. Quite a few other injuries, sprains, you know, bruises. What we're doing out there is really difficult. It's just part of the game, you know. Really try to focus on whatever it is that you're doing and just tighten it up. Just keep tightening it up. Even to this day, you know, I will still do a trick, and I'll still try to figure out what can I do that will just make it that much better. What can I do to progress myself as an athlete just that much further? You know what I'm saying? I'm always trying to keep pushing forward. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. Whatever I try to get into, you know, I'm going to put my heart into it. And, you know, I want to be not necessarily the best, but the best that I can be. I'm not in competition with anyone else. I'm just always going to do me. You know, when I look back into the mirror at the end of the day, I want to have feelings of pride and exhilaration. I want to lay down in my bed at the end of the night, you know, and close my eyes and feel a sensation of like euphoria, because I fucking put out the best that I could do, that I put out beyond 100%. When I was in the session this morning, I was a little nervous about doing the trick, but I fucking manned up, balls out, and I jumped on the fucking rail, and I committed to it, and I rode it out all the way to the end. Flawless. And when I landed smooth, and then I kept walking like it ain't shit. So microcalibrate.